My work on the politics of obesity is less about why people become obese or statistics about who is and how many are obese. There's a lot of good research on that done by nutritionists and psychologists and people who work on eating disorders and so on. I'm interested specifically in the politics of obesity. Can and or should the government do something about obesity? Obesity has been declared an epidemic by a Republican-appointed Surgeon General back in 2001. This was Bush's first Surgeon General. Therefore, this isn't a particularly partisan issue. Folks on both sides agree the nation is getting too fat too fast. Particularly alarming are statistics about the level and increase and trends in child obesity. My approach has been comparative and historical, actually. There's a general reaction in a United States that's generally seen, I think rightly, as individualistic, opposing big government intervention into private life. There's a general take, in short, that government's not going to do something about the food we eat. This is my private decision. It's my choice, what I put into my body. Interestingly, the food industry has made a successful career of promoting that message pretty powerfully. And again, it makes sense in a U.S. that is generally seen as individualistic and hands-off when it comes to big government intervention. When I look historically, though, the story looks a little different and a lot more interesting. On issues like alcohol, drugs, tobacco, and even sex, all considered completely private realms at one time in U.S. history, the government over time has pretty powerfully stepped in and regulated, taxed, prohibited a whole range of public health practices that were, again, once considered private, on the grounds of preserving and protecting the public. So, for example, we had 5 different rounds of prohibition of liquor, culminating in the famous amendment to ban its sale or consumption, which was in place for some 15 years in the early 20th century. There's still severe restrictions, although they vary by jurisdiction, about what we can and can't drink, how old we can be, what we can drink, what we can buy over the counter, and so on. The same, again, holds true for other things that used to be considered one's private business. 15 years ago, when I started graduate school, every professor I had smoked in the seminar. Many students did as well. Now it's strictly prohibited to smoke inside most public buildings in New York City and much of the U.S. So I'm interested in how we got from regimes of completely private to regimes of public regulation. In those other realms, I don't think food is exempt from those kinds of practices. 2, 3, 5, maybe 10 years, I think we'll see much more serious restrictions on the kind of food we are allowed to eat in certain circumstances. A fascinating feature of the politics of obesity.